The first unusual sound came as a low, uneven groan from the underbrush. Ranger Malik froze, scanning the dense thicket, and his heart sank when he spotted the massive lion lying half-hidden among the tall grasses, one paw twisted awkwardly, its amber eyes half-closed in pain. The air was thick with the scent of earth and dried leaves, and the distant buzz of insects felt louder in the heavy morning stillness. For hours, Malik had been tracing signs of the injured predator, following faint tracks along the riverbank. Now, as he crouched nearby, he could see the lion's ribs outlined sharply beneath the tawny coat, and shallow breaths whispered through its nostrils. A single ear twitched at every distant sound. The ranger's pulse quickened, not with fear, but with careful anticipation. He knelt, keeping his voice low, "Easy, just easy." His hands rested lightly on the ground, offering a presence without pressure. The lion's head lifted slightly, eyes meeting his with a mixture of wariness and curiosity. Tiny movements, an ear flicking, a tail brushing the dirt, spoke volumes of the animal's discomfort and confusion. Malik knew the nearest wildlife vet was miles away, and every second counted. He surveyed the surrounding terrain, thorny bushes, uneven rocks, and a slow-moving stream that could complicate any attempt to move the lion. He measured each step carefully, offering food in soft gestures rather than direct force. Hours passed with patient observation. The lion's moans were soft, almost like whispers, blending with the distant calls of other wildlife. Slowly, Malik noticed a shift. The lion began nudging its paw toward a nearby flat stone, testing its strength. Tiny successes like these carried enormous weight, each small movement a quiet promise of survival. Then, just as the sun pierced the morning fog in a shaft of gold, the unexpected happened. A rustling in the brush drew the lion's attention, and its eyes widened. From the shadows emerged a second lion, a female, limping slightly but steady, who approached cautiously. There was a tense silence, broken only by the soft hum of the river nearby. The male lion's groans softened, his body relaxing as the female brushed against him, nudging him forward. Malik watched, stunned. The twist was subtle but profound. The injured lion had not only survived, but the reunion sparked a silent agreement between the two lions. Slowly, they rose together, bodies brushing, muscles flexing with regained strength. With careful, deliberate steps, they moved back into the forest, pausing once to glance toward Malik, who remained frozen with awe. The air seemed lighter after they disappeared among the trees. The ranger exhaled, a soft smile brushing his lips. No words could capture the intensity of what he had witnessed: trust, resilience, and an almost imperceptible gratitude exchanged in the quiet language of the wild. The sun continued to climb, painting golden light across the landscape, as if marking the moment for eternity. Malik stood silently, letting the wind carry the sounds of the forest. In the distance, the river murmured, birds chirped, and the pair of lions vanished, leaving only the memory of a miraculous connection, forever etched in the morning light. A soft rustling through the undergrowth drew Ranger Malik's attention before he even saw the lion. The golden sunlight filtered through the high canopy, casting flickering patterns on the forest floor. The male lion, now recovering from its earlier injury, lay half-hidden beneath a cluster of ferns, muscles still taut with cautious energy. His amber eyes followed every movement, ears swiveling independently as though reading the language of the jungle. Malik moved slowly, careful to make himself part of the background, a silent observer rather than an intruder. The lion lifted its head and let out a low, almost contemplative growl. Its breath came in measured puffs, a visible mist against the cool morning air. A faint limp persisted in one foreleg, and tiny scraps of bark clung to its tawny coat, evidence of its earlier struggle through thorny terrain. The ranger set down a small pile of meat, then retreated a few steps. "It's okay, take it," he murmured, barely audible. The lion sniffed the offering, shifting its massive head, and after a tense pause, began to eat, muscles rippling under the coat like waves in water. Hours passed in a delicate rhythm. Malik observed the lion's movements, noting the subtle healing. Its paw pressed more firmly into the soft earth, the limp easing slightly with each cautious step. Birds darted above, their calls punctuating the occasional rustle of leaves. The air smelled of damp soil and wildflowers, rich and alive, grounding Malik in the forest's heartbeat. Then, a sudden shift. The lion raised its head, ears pricked, nostrils flaring. From the shadows of the bamboo thickets emerged a young ranger, hesitant but determined, carrying water and small bandages. The male lion tensed, a low rumble vibrating in its chest. Malik stepped forward, hands open and calm, signaling reassurance. "Easy, we're here to help," Malik whispered. His voice was soft, carrying respect rather than command. The lion's gaze lingered on him, pupils narrowing briefly, then relaxing as it sensed the human's careful patience. The young ranger knelt nearby, offering water. The lion lowered its head cautiously, drinking with slow, deliberate laps, each movement measured and wary. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the usual chorus of insects and birds muted under the intensity of the moment. Time stretched, measured in small, precise interactions, a paw testing the ground, a tail flicking to maintain balance, the faint twitch of whiskers. Each gesture revealed trust building slowly, wordlessly, between human and animal. Evening approached, painting the sky in muted oranges and purples. The lion rose, muscles coiling with regained strength, and stepped closer to Malik. Its eyes, once wary and uncertain, now held something different, recognition, perhaps even appreciation. Malik allowed a tentative smile to surface, understanding the fragile bond forged in quiet moments of patience and respect. As twilight deepened, the lion moved toward the riverbank, followed by Malik and the young ranger at a careful distance. Water lapped softly against stones, reflecting the last light of the day. The male lion paused, lifting its head to inhale the evening air, a deep, resonant rumble echoing across the forest. Then, without a backward glance, it padded into the shadowed trees, disappearing with deliberate grace. Malik and the young ranger stayed still, letting the forest reclaim its sounds, the rustling leaves, the distant calls of nocturnal birds, the whisper of the river over smooth stones. In that quiet, both humans carried the memory of the lion's silent trust, a lesson in patience, respect, and the subtle poetry of survival in the wild. The forest was unusually silent that morning, broken only by the soft trickle of a distant stream. Ranger Malik noticed movement along the bank, a faint ripple, a disturbance in the reeds. At first, he thought it was the wind, but then a small, trembling shape emerged, a lion cub, soaked and shivering, tangled in the thick underbrush. Its golden fur clung to its tiny body, and its wide eyes held panic. Malik froze, heart tightening. The cub struggled weakly, twisting against the entangling branches. Its high-pitched whines pierced the quiet, drawing the attention of birds and distant deer, all retreating at the sound. The forest seemed to hold its breath. The young ranger beside him whispered, "We need to help it." Malik nodded, careful to stay calm. He stepped closer, hands out, moving slowly to avoid alarming the cub. The small animal flinched at every sound, but hunger and fear drove it to inch forward, reaching toward the riverbank where fresh water glimmered under the early sun. Malik offered his palm, voice low and steady. "It's okay, you're safe." The cub hesitated, then slowly accepted the gesture. Its tiny paws pressed against the ranger's hand, trembling with effort. Malik noticed its body was weak but alive, ribs faintly visible beneath the wet coat. Its tiny tongue lapped water cautiously, and a shiver ran through its frame with each sip. The scent of damp earth and moss mingled with the cub's wet fur, creating a sharp, earthy aroma that filled the air. The forest seemed to stretch endlessly around them, each tree a sentinel, each leaf whispering the passage of time. Malik watched the cub's subtle reactions, ears flicking toward every sound, tail curling anxiously, tiny claws gripping the soft soil. Every detail spoke of a fragile life on the edge, of survival hinging on the gentlest care. Suddenly, a familiar roar rolled through the trees. The male lion from before emerged from the shadows, muscles rippling beneath the tawny coat, eyes wide with recognition. He paused at the riverbank, then stepped forward, each movement deliberate, protective. The cub froze, then scrambled toward him, paws slipping on the muddy soil. The lion nudged the cub gently with his massive head, a low, rumbling sound vibrating through the air. Malik stepped back, allowing nature to take its course. The male lion guided the cub toward a safer spot beneath a thick canopy, brushing branches aside with deliberate movements. The cub whimpered softly but followed, trust growing in tiny increments. Time passed slowly. Sunlight filtered through the dense canopy, illuminating motes of dust dancing in the warm rays. The lion lowered his head to the cub, rubbing faces in a quiet display of affection, then lifted his eyes to Malik. There was a silent acknowledgement, a bond formed not through words but through shared care and understanding. As evening approached, the forest took on a golden hue, shadows stretching long and thin. The lion family settled beneath the trees, the cub nestled against the larger lion's side. Malik watched from a respectful distance, heart swelling with a mixture of awe and quiet relief. The twist was not sudden, but profound. The male lion, once injured and wary, had now become both protector and guide. In its silent, patient way, it had rescued not just itself, but the vulnerable cub, creating a small, fragile family amidst the vast wilderness. Malik exhaled softly, letting the quiet of the forest fill the space around him. The river whispered, birds called from high branches, and the cub's soft purring mingled with the evening breeze. The human presence faded into the background, leaving only the gentle rhythms of trust, care, and survival in the wild, a lesson etched deeply into the ranger's memory. The morning mist hung low over the river, curling around the tree trunks like soft smoke. Ranger Malik's boots sank slightly into the damp earth as he followed the male lion and the cub along the bank. The little one's steps were hesitant, unsteady on the slick mud, and its soft whimpers echoed faintly against the still water. The male lion moved with silent authority, guiding the cub with gentle nudges and subtle body language. Suddenly, a broken branch snapped under the cub's paw. Its small body tensed, eyes widening in fear. The river before them swelled with recent rains, churning faster than usual, reflecting the dull gray of the morning sky. Malik felt a chill run down his spine. This crossing would be treacherous. The water, dark and frothy, threatened to sweep the cub away if it slipped. The male lion stopped at the bank, muscles coiled, tail twitching. He sniffed the air, ears angled toward unseen currents. The cub crouched low, shivering, uncertainty radiating from every movement. Malik knelt a few meters back, careful not to interfere directly, whispering, "Stay calm, you can do this." His voice barely disturbed the morning hush. For a long moment, nothing happened but the sound of water lapping against stones and the gentle rustling of leaves in the wind. Then, slowly, the lion stepped into the shallow current, paws carefully testing the riverbed. The cub mirrored the movement, tentative but encouraged by its father's steady presence. Each step sent ripples outward, water splashing against fur, carrying the earthy scent of wet soil and moss. Halfway across, the cub slipped. A tiny yelp pierced the air, and Malik's heart leapt. Instinctively, he leaned forward, but the male lion was faster. With a swift, controlled movement, he pressed his massive paw against the cub's back, steadying it. The cub shook once, then pressed closer, following its protector with renewed determination. Malik could feel the tension leave his shoulders as the tiny family continued their careful crossing. The river was wider than expected, the current strong, but the male lion guided each step with patience. The cub's eyes stayed fixed on him, trust absolute despite the danger. Water ran in rivulets down their fur, beads catching the faint sunlight as they moved with deliberate grace. Malik took mental notes of every detail, the way muscles flexed under tawny coats, how tails twitched for balance, and the faint, rhythmic sounds of breathing and paw steps in the river. Finally, with one last stretch of cautious steps, the cub scrambled onto the far bank, the male lion following closely. Both shook water from their coats, sending droplets glinting in the morning light. The forest exhaled, a gentle breeze rustling leaves as if acknowledging their success. Malik stepped closer, keeping his gaze respectful, witnessing the subtle bond between father and child, reinforced by shared adversity. The twist was quiet, yet profound. The male lion, once injured and wary of humans, had led the cub through a life-threatening challenge without aggression, without panic, an act of trust and instinctive care that left Malik awestruck. The forest, rich with earthy smells and soft sounds, seemed to hum with approval. As the sun rose higher, filtering gold through the canopy, the lion family paused beneath a large fig tree. The cub nuzzled its parent, then turned its gaze toward the humans with curious innocence. Malik and the young ranger remained still, letting the moment settle like dew on leaves. No words were needed. The river had been crossed, danger survived, and a silent, unspoken bond had deepened. The forest resumed its natural rhythm. Birds called from the branches, water whispered over stones, and the lion family disappeared deeper into the undergrowth. Malik exhaled slowly, heart still pounding, and felt the weight of witnessing something rare, a miracle not in sudden drama, but in patient courage, instinct, and quiet trust. The forest was bathed in the soft gold of late afternoon, the air rich with the scent of damp earth and flowering shrubs. Ranger Malik stood on a gentle rise, watching the male lion and the cub move through the tall grasses, their tawny coats glinting in the sunlight. Each step was deliberate, measured, as if the forest itself had granted them safe passage. The cub stumbled once over a hidden root, but the male lion's massive paw pressed lightly against its back, steadying it. The gesture was simple yet profound, a silent reassurance that resonated more than words ever could. Malik felt a lump in his throat. Hours of observation, care, and patience had led to this, a moment of trust so deep that the forest seemed to pause in quiet recognition. The distant murmur of a river mixed with the soft rustle of leaves, creating a natural symphony. Birds flitted overhead, calling out as if announcing the family's passage. Sunlight filtered through the canopy, casting moving patterns of shadow and light that danced across the forest floor. Every sound, every shimmer of color, seemed heightened, as if nature itself had drawn attention to this delicate scene. The male lion stopped near a clearing, lowering himself slightly, and nudged the cub forward with a gentle push. The cub hesitated, sniffing the air, ears flicking at the distant calls of the wild. Slowly, it took a few tentative steps, then a few more, until it bounded forward with growing confidence, following the adult lion with unwavering trust. Malik and the young ranger remained still, letting the animals take the lead, their hearts swelling with awe. A subtle twist unfolded in the quiet. As the lions moved toward a ridge that overlooked the sprawling forest below, a herd of antelope appeared in the distance. The male lion paused, not with aggression, but with calm awareness. The cub froze briefly, observing the graceful creatures, then continued moving, encouraged by the adult's steady presence. There was no chase, no sudden movement, just the quiet rhythm of survival, trust, and coexistence. Malik exhaled slowly, taking in the scene. The lions had grown stronger together, their bond deepened through injury, danger, and gentle guidance. He felt the weight of the experience settle into him, a quiet reverence that could not be expressed in words. The forest around them seemed to hum with life, the soft brushing of leaves, the distant call of birds, the murmur of water, all weaving a tapestry of continuity and peace. Finally, the lions reached the edge of a sunlit meadow. The cub paused, glancing back once at Malik, then pressed close to the adult lion, moving forward with newfound assurance. The male lion lifted his head, letting out a low, resonant rumble that echoed across the trees, a final, quiet acknowledgement of survival and trust. Then, as the sun dipped lower, the pair disappeared into the shadowed forest, leaving only the subtle rustle of grass in their wake. Malik remained on the rise, watching until the last glint of tawny fur vanished. The young ranger whispered softly, "They're safe, thanks to you." Malik shook his head, a soft smile on his lips. The moment belonged not to humans, but to the silent language of the wild, to courage, patience, and instinct. As evening fell, the forest resumed its natural rhythm. The river murmured over stones, birds called to one another, and the wind carried the earthy scent of trees and soil. Malik walked slowly back, feeling the echo of trust and survival etched into his memory. The story of the lion and the cub would remain with him forever, a quiet testament to patience, respect, and the unspoken bonds that exist between humans and the wild.